The courtroom is filled with tension as the trial of Richard Hale begins. He is accused of attempting to abduct a disabled girl, Emily. All eyes are on the witness stand as 5-year-old Emily, a disabled girl, slowly makes her way to the chair. She holds tightly onto the leash of her service dog, Rex, a German shepherd with a scar on his side, a reminder of his past bravery. Judge Thomas watches carefully, aware of how important this case is. He knows that Emily's testimony could help convict Richard Hale, but there is a problem. Emily hasn't said a word since the traumatic event. The whole courtroom is anxious. How will a young girl who is unable to speak provide the evidence needed to secure justice? Emily's silence is a mystery. Her mother, Sarah, is by her side, offering comfort and support. As Emily sits, her hands grip the leash even tighter, showing how much she relies on Rex. The dog remains calm, his watchful eyes scanning the room, standing ready to assist Emily in any way needed. The trial, with its life-changing implications, now depends on this little girl, her silent courage, and the unspoken bond between her and her loyal dog. As her green eyes meet Richard Hale's across the room, her fingers make a small, subtle movement. It's a signal only her service dog Rex understands. This is something Emily has learned during her therapy with Rex, a way for her to communicate without words. Rex, always alert, responds immediately. His body tenses and his ears stand up straight, watching Richard carefully. A low growl starts deep in his chest, almost like a warning. His eyes lock onto Richard Hale, filled with something more than just attention. The dog recognizes him, and it's clear from his reaction. Rex's growl isn't just a trained response. It's a sign of recognition, something deep within him that connects the past to the present. The entire courtroom falls silent. All eyes are on Rex, who continues to stare at Richard Hale, his growl steady and unrelenting. The moment is thick with tension as everyone in the room senses the significance of what just happened. Emily hasn't spoken a word, but her silent cue to Rex has spoken volumes. Judge Thomas watches carefully, knowing that this could be a key moment in the trial. The people in the courtroom are unsure of what's happening, but they can feel the intensity of the connection between Emily and Rex. Even though Emily can't speak, her bond with Rex seems to speak louder than words ever could. The atmosphere is charged as if the dog has just revealed something no one else could see. 4 years, Judge Thomas has sat in this courtroom, dealing with cases that range from the serious to the bizarre, but he has never witnessed something like this. He has seen emotional reactions from people, but this is different. Rex, the service dog, isn't just reacting to the presence of a stranger or to a stressful environment. The growl seems personal, as if the dog recognizes something crucial about Richard Hale. This is more than a trained response. It feels like a deep, instinctual recognition. Sensing the importance of what just occurred, Judge Thomas calls for an immediate recess. His voice, usually steady and calm, now carries an urgency that reflects the gravity of the situation. "This court will take a recess," he declares, his hand coming down hard on the gavel. His mind races with questions. What did Rex sense? What connection does the dog have to the defendant? The courtroom empties, and while the others try to make sense of the moment, Judge Thomas remains seated, deep in thought. He knows this could be the turning point of the case. Something significant has happened, and he must understand it before the trial can continue. Meanwhile, Richard Hale, who had been confident in his defense until now, starts to feel uneasy. He sits in a quiet corner of the courtroom away from everyone else, his lawyer beside him. As he thinks about what just happened with Rex, a wave of nervousness begins to settle in. The dog's growl, the way Rex reacted to him, fills Richard with a sense of dread. He mutters under his breath, almost to himself, "The dog knows something." Richard's calm demeanor, which had helped him stay composed throughout the trial, begins to crack. His fingers tap nervously on the table as he replays the moment in his mind. Rex's behavior wasn't just a random reaction, it was personal. The dog didn't just growl because it was trained to do so, it growled because it recognized something in him. Richard starts to feel the weight of the situation. What if Rex knows the truth about what happened that day? What if the dog can expose him? For the first time since the trial began, Richard starts to feel the pressure of the case. Until now, he had believed that his defense was strong. There was no physical evidence, no confession, and Emily couldn't speak to identify him. But now Rex has entered the picture, and Richard realizes that the dog could be a key witness, a silent witness with the power to reveal the truth. His lawyer, noticing Richard's sudden shift in mood, glances at him. Richard's face is no longer calm and confident. His thoughts are racing as he begins to understand the serious consequences of Rex's actions. The dog's silent testimony may be the thing that destroys his defense, and he has no idea how to stop it. The story takes us back to Emily's life before the traumatic event that changed everything. Emily was once a joyful, outgoing girl who loved to talk and play. She was always curious, asking questions and sharing stories with everyone around her. She loved playing outside, running around with her friends and spending time with her family. But everything changed one afternoon when a man tried to take her away. It started as a normal day. Emily was playing in her yard, enjoying the warm sunshine. She was spinning in circles, laughing as her pink dress twirled around her. But her happy world quickly turned to fear. A man in a black van stopped near the edge of her yard. He got out and walked over to her, his voice smooth and calm. "I have puppies in my van," he said, smiling at her. "Would you like to come and see them?" Emily, feeling uneasy, didn't move. Something about the man's voice felt wrong. Just as he reached out to grab her, a neighbor shouted from across the street, "Hey! Get away from that child." The man hesitated for a moment, his grip on Emily's arm loosening just enough for her to pull away. Emily quickly ran back to her mother, who had heard the commotion. The man got in his van and sped away, leaving behind only the sound of screeching tires. Emily was physically unharmed, but the emotional and mental damage was severe. After that day, she became quiet and withdrawn. She stopped talking and didn't want to play anymore. She started spending more time inside, staring out of windows, always looking over her shoulder. Her parents noticed that she was becoming more fearful of leaving the house. The once energetic, chatty little girl now rarely spoke. Her anxiety grew over time. Emily began using a wheelchair more often because she felt safer sitting down, unable to face the world as she once had. She became scared of going outside and needed her parents' help for even simple things like going to the store or playing in the yard. Seeing their daughter struggle, Emily's parents decided to get her therapy. They were desperate to help her find her voice again. That's when they introduced Rex, a service dog trained to help people with emotional and mental challenges. Rex quickly became Emily's constant companion. He was always by her side, offering comfort and protection. Slowly, Emily started to feel a sense of security when Rex was near. Although she still didn't speak much, her bond with Rex gave her a small sense of relief from the fear that had taken over her life. Emily's family began to notice small changes in her. One of the most significant was her return to drawing. Emily, who had stopped drawing after the incident, began picking up crayons and drawing again. At first, the pictures were simple, just a girl and a dog standing together. But over time, her drawings became more detailed, showing the deep connection between her and Rex. In every picture, the dog was right there with her, a symbol of the support and comfort he brought into her life. These drawings, though quiet, spoke volumes about Emily's healing journey and the role Rex played in helping her regain her confidence. As Emily's testimony continues, the courtroom is on edge. Prosecutor Jenna approaches Emily gently, her voice soft and reassuring. "Emily, can you point to the person who tried to take you?" she asks, giving Emily the chance to identify the man who had caused her so much fear. Emily doesn't speak, but her small hand reaches out and points directly at Richard Hale, sitting across the room at the defense table. Her finger trembles, but there is no doubt in her gesture. It's clear she has recognized him. However, Emily's silent identification isn't enough for the courtroom. All eyes turn to Rex, the service dog who has been by her side throughout the trial. Emily gives a subtle signal with her fingers, a silent command she has learned to communicate with Rex. Almost immediately, the dog reacts. His body tenses and his eyes lock onto Richard Hale with intense focus. Then a low growl rumbles deep in Rex's chest. It's not a playful sound or a normal response. This growl is sharp, deliberate, and filled with recognition. The courtroom falls completely silent. The sound of Rex's growl echoes through the room, sending a chill down the spines of everyone present. All eyes are now on Richard Hale, who shifts uncomfortably in his seat. His calm, confident demeanor is starting to crack. The dog's reaction seems to confirm that Emily has identified the right person. But how could Rex know for sure? The question hangs in the air, and the tension in the room becomes thick with uncertainty. Judge Thomas, who has been watching the proceedings carefully, stands up. He is deeply moved by what just happened, but he also understands the gravity of the moment. He knows this could be the turning point in the trial. He bangs his gavel sharply and calls for a recess. "This court will take a short break," he announces, his voice filled with authority. The judge needs time to process what he just saw. He is convinced that Rex's reaction isn't just coincidence. The dog's instincts could be the key to unraveling the truth behind what happened. The question is now, what did Rex recognize and how can it help Emily get the justice she deserves? The courtroom empties and Judge Thomas is left deep in thought, aware that the dog may hold the answers they've been searching for. Outside the courtroom, Detective Monroe is deep in thought. The courtroom events have left him with a strong feeling that something important is hidden beneath the surface. He starts looking into a lead that could help solve the case. He remembers the soil samples found in Richard Hale's van. The samples were collected from the cabin Hale had visited often. These samples could be the missing link to understanding what happened. Monroe is convinced that they might lead to something big. The soil samples are carefully examined and traced back to a remote cabin in the woods. It's a place no one had considered before, but something about it feels important. Monroe knows this could be the break they need, so he quickly organizes a search team to investigate the cabin. He's also puzzled by Rex's reaction in the courtroom. He senses that the dog might have more to do with this than anyone initially thought. He feels that Rex might have been to that cabin before. Could Rex recognize something at the cabin that no one else could? Monroe's gut instinct tells him that the dog's behavior could be key to uncovering the truth. The team sets off, making their way to the cabin. As they approach, Rex, who is with them, starts to show signs of distress. The dog, usually calm and composed, suddenly becomes alert. His ears perk up and his body tenses. He starts pacing back and forth in front of the cabin door. His movements are sharp, almost like he's on high alert. Then, the low growl that had been heard in the courtroom begins to rise from Rex's chest. He growls loudly, a sound full of warning and recognition. Monroe and the team exchange nervous looks. They know Rex is reacting strongly, and it's clear that the dog is sensing something important. They carefully approach the door, not knowing what they will find, but knowing it could change everything. Slowly they open the door, entering the cabin cautiously. The air inside feels thick and the atmosphere is unsettling. Inside the cabin, the team begins searching. Everything is quiet, almost too quiet. As they move through the dusty rooms, they find nothing unusual at first. But then, as they reach the back of the cabin, they notice something strange. The wooden floor near the far wall has a soft, hollow sound when knocked on. Something is hidden under the floorboards. The team gets to work, carefully prying up the wooden panels, revealing a hidden staircase leading down into a basement. The basement is cold, dark, and damp. The team moves slowly, flashlights flickering in the dark corners. What they discover next sends a shiver down their spines. In the corner of the basement, they find old toys, clothes, and a faded pink backpack. And then, lying in the farthest corner, they find a child's remains. The body is small and frail, evidence that the child had been kept in the basement for months. The child had been abducted long before, and now the truth was staring them in the face. Rex's reaction to the cabin was no coincidence. The dog had recognized the place. He had sensed the presence of something horrible, something that had been hidden for months. Rex's behavior had led them straight to this dark, hidden basement, where the remains of an abducted child were found. Monroe's belief that Rex had a deeper connection to the location proved true, and the discovery could be the turning point in the case. With this new evidence, the pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place. Back in the courtroom, the mood has changed. The atmosphere is heavy with the news that Detective Monroe and his team have discovered a hidden cabin in the woods. Inside, they found the remains of a missing child who had been abducted months earlier. The soil samples from Richard Hale's van had led them to this place, and now the evidence is being presented in front of everyone in the courtroom. As the prosecutor, Jenna, presents the findings, Richard Hale's face turns pale. His confident posture starts to crumble as the evidence is laid out for all to see. His lawyer, Michael Graves, stands up, but there is little he can do to deny the truth now. The remains of a child, tied directly to Hale's van and the soil samples, are undeniable. Hale's once strong defense has fallen apart. Hale looks around the courtroom, his gaze shifting nervously as he hears the new evidence being discussed. His composure, which had been so solid during the earlier parts of the trial, cracks completely. The realization hits him like a wave. He knows that he can no longer escape the truth. The mounting evidence is too strong. His involvement in the abductions and now the discovery of a child's remains leaves him with no way out. Rex's reaction to him, the way the dog growled and locked eyes with him during the trial, now seems like the final confirmation. It was clear that Rex had recognized something important, something only Hale could have known. The courtroom is tense, the silence almost unbearable. Richard Hale sits there, his hands trembling slightly. He knows the game is up. The prosecutor's case has exposed everything, and his defense can no longer stand. Overwhelmed by the evidence, Hale finally breaks. His voice, barely a whisper, cracks as he changes his plea from not guilty to guilty. "I'm guilty," Hale says, his voice trembling. "I did it." The words hang in the air, bringing a sense of relief to those who have waited so long for justice. The courtroom, filled with spectators and legal teams, reacts with shock and disbelief, but there is also a sense of finality. The trial is over. The truth is out, and Hale has admitted to his crimes. Judge Thomas, who had been quietly watching the entire process, looks at Hale with a solemn expression. "You have been convicted of multiple abductions and other heinous crimes," he says. "I hereby sentence you to life in prison, without the possibility of parole." The gavel falls and the courtroom is silent once again. Richard Hale's fate is sealed. He will never harm another child again. For Emily and her family, the truth has finally come to light. Emily, who had been so brave throughout the trial, has helped bring a dangerous man to justice. Though she remains silent, her actions, along with Rex's support, have made a powerful impact. The long road of recovery isn't over, but the chapter that involved Hale's crimes has ended. Hale's conviction means that many other families are safe, and the terror he caused will finally come to an end. Emily and Rex, together, have shown the world that sometimes, even in the darkest moments, courage and truth can bring justice. After the trial, Emily, who had been silent for weeks, finally speaks her first words. Her voice is soft, barely a whisper, but it's the most powerful sound in the room. She turns to Rex, her loyal service dog, and says, "Thank you." Her words are simple, but they carry so much meaning. She thanks him for being by her side through everything, for helping her face her fears and guiding her through the darkness. Her mother, Sarah, watches with tears in her eyes. She has seen how much Emily has struggled, how the trauma has affected her. But now she sees her daughter starting to heal. The bond between Emily and Rex is something unbreakable, a bond built on trust, love, and the support of a dog who never left her side. Sarah knows that Rex has been the key to Emily's recovery, the silent hero who helped bring justice and gave Emily the strength to speak again. Rex's role in the case is honored, not just as a service dog but as a true hero. He played a crucial part in identifying the truth and bringing the dangerous man to justice. Emily, despite the challenges of her disability, has found her voice once again, with Rex helping her every step of the way. Their journey isn't over, but with Rex by her side, Emily knows she can face whatever comes next. Together, they've shown that even in the darkest times, there is always hope and courage.